Hey, so this is a tutorial on how to use Audition for audio editing to make podcasts and videos sound a little bit better. First off, I guess I'll start by playing the before and after. So this is with all the audio effects that I currently have on it.
And welcome to High Level Living with Michael Porsche. This is the show where we talk to all individuals in different industries, different spaces who are in different levels and capacities, but they are high level. That means not just financially, but physically, relationally, and spiritually. So on this show today, oh man, this one's a pretty legit one. I love this guy. This guy's name's Eric Moeller. He is a powerhouse in the short-term rental space, which is near and dear to my heart because it's where I'm at. He's based out of San Diego. My goal is actually to enter in his mastermind. That's a area where I actually want to be in.
So as I played that for you, I was toggling between turning all of the plugins on and off. As you can see down here in this little corner, you can click this button and it turns off all the plugins and turns them back on, right? You can see it because it turns green when they're on and it turns gray when they're off. Doing this is pretty important because it helps you to understand what you're doing and it helps you to see kind of the end result and whether you like it or not. So I'm going to go through all of the plugins and show you what they are, what they do, and how I have them set up. So the very first one I have is a third-party plugin that you won't naturally find within Audition, but it is free to download. It's called the Saturation Knob by Softtube. Softtube is Softube. I'll show it for you right here. Softtube. Cool. Softube. Type in Softtube, softtube.com. You go here. You open up their website. You have to log in. You have to make an account, log in. And what you want is called the saturation knob. Saturation knob. Like that. And it's free. Saturation knob, free. Click it. And you can get for free. But in order to get it for free, you need to log in, make an account. And then I'll have you download their this thing called Softtube Central, which is a plugin management app. So you sign in with your account and then you install the saturation knob in here. And then in Audition, in order to load in all of your extensions, sorry, not extensions, but your plugins, your VSTs, you go to, sorry, I don't use Audition much. I just started using it today. To help with this, effects, VSTs here. Yeah, under effects, you go to audio plugin manager, you click that, and you click scan for plugins, and it'll pop up here. As you can see, I have all these RX7 plugins and other things. That's because I have a lot of my own VSTs and plugins that I've bought over time, and these are really, really good, but they cost money, so I'm not going to tell you to get them. But here, saturation knob VST3, you want to use the VST3. A VST3 is the same thing as a VST, just a little bit more efficient. It runs more efficiently on your computer. And then yeah, once it's loading, click OK. So then you click here to add an effect, the little caret, go down to VST3s. It'll be under distortion, Softtube, saturation knob. Click that, load it in. So what a saturation knob does, or what a saturation does, is it kind of thickens out the sound. It takes the frequencies of a sound and it duplicates them and shifts them up and shifts them down a little bit. So this is the saturation knob. That's more saturation, that's less saturation. Here, we can actually solo this. So let's turn off all my other plugins so you can just hear what this one does. Let's turn it off. And then let's play.
And welcome to High Level Living with Michael Porsche. This is the show where we talk to all individuals in different industries, different spaces who are in different levels and capacities, but they are high level. That means not just financially, but physically, relationally, and spiritually. So on this show today, oh man, this one's a pretty legit one. I love this guy. This guy's name's Eric Moeller.
So as you could tell, once I turned it up very, very far, it became incredibly distorted and you couldn't understand anything. So don't do that. With the saturation, you just want a little bit on something like a vocal. On saturation for music and other stuff, of course, you'll want different effects. But you want just a little bit of saturation to thicken up the vocals a little bit. And here, if you notice, the saturation's first. The order of these matters a ton because it goes, the way that this processes, the way that the audio is processed is from the first to the second to the third to the fourth to the fifth. Well, you want to add in saturation first because you want to thicken up the vocals first, and then you want to remove all of the unwanted sounds, and then you want to add on the final compressors and stuff like that at the end to to make all the sounds louder and more equalized. But you always want to start with your saturation first, and then what you want to do is start with an EQ or an equalizer. So this is the equalizer I'm currently using. It's shaped like this, and I'll teach you how to set up an equalizer with this kind of shape first. So I have 3 of them opened, but these first 2 I'm not using. The first 2 I'm not using. I'm only using this third one that looks like this. Sorry. The yeah, this one. Yeah. Audition's a little slow for me on this computer that I'm using right now. I'm not on my main computer. So this equalizer I have, okay? What I have set is the high and low pass filters, okay? So a low pass filter, LP, low pass on the right, and a high pass filter. So for a low pass filter, everything, it's called a pass filter. So everything that's lower than the pass will pass through, and everything for the low pass, and everything that's higher than the pass will pass through. So when I set my low pass filter at, let's set it to a flat number, 1000 hertz. Every frequency that's below 1000 hertz, you can hear, and every frequency that's above 1000 hertz, you can't hear. And it's in this shape. Let me play it for you so you can get a sense of what it looks like.
And welcome to High Level Living with Michael Porsche. This is the show where we talk to all individuals in different industries, different spaces who are in different levels and capacities, but they are high level. That means not just financially, but physically, relationally, and
so as you can see, when I drag it down like this, all you can hear are the low sounds. When I bring it up like this, you can hear all the sounds in here, and you can't hear anything out here, right? So these are the highs, these are the lows, okay? So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my low pass filter and I'm bringing it very, very far down to like around 100 to maybe like 170. So these are the very, very low sounds. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the low sounds in his voice, which are unaudible, meaning you can't understand the words that are being said. You're trying to find that line. So we can do that together right now. Let's find at what point can we not understand what is being said.
Welcome to High Level Living with Michael Porsche. This is the show where we talk to all individuals in different industries, different spaces who are in different levels of capacities, but they are high level. That means not just financially, but physically, relationally, and spiritually. So on the show today, this is a pretty good one. I love this guy. This guy's name's Eric Moeller. He is a powerhouse in
around here. So I lowered it to 128. I can't really understand what's being said anymore, right? Like I can hear the fact that it's a voice, but it's very muffled and I have no clue what's being said. All right, so this is important because we want to remove these sounds. We do not want these sounds in our vocal. It's going to muddy the vocal. And this is a very high level audio editing trick. Most people think that in order to get richer and fuller sounding vocals, what you do is you want to boost everything up. But that is incorrect. You actually want to remove sounds in order to get a more fuller sound. You want to remove the sounds that don't add anything. And that's what these are. These super, super low bassy sounds do not add anything because we can't even understand them. You just listen to it, right? You can't understand it at all. So we want to remove these sounds here. So that's why I have this parametric EQ set up, was just to help me find the sounds and the cutoff. So the cutoff is 128 hertz for this one. So this is the one I'm using, right? For here, these are the lows. So I have it going the opposite way, right? So it's only going to listen to the stuff in the middle here. So this is the high pass filter. Remember, high pass, it lets everything that's higher than it pass. So that means everything that's lower than it is not going to go through. And remember, we decided around 130 is where we want, right? And then notice right below it says gain 12 dB per octave, okay? And this is the slope right here. Do you see this slope? If we have it at 48, it's like the steep cutoff. And then when we have it at 12, it's more of a natural graduate cutoff. We probably want either the 6 or the 12 here because it's going to sound more natural. When it's a hard cutoff like this, it's going to sound unnatural. And we can listen to the difference between the two.
My goal is actually to enter in his mastermind. That's a area where I actually want to be in. Is to get in his mastermind and do some serious damage with it, because he helps people scale from where I'm at, say at 12, 20 to 100 plus. So that's where I'm looking to build our systems and our team, which I was really excited, obviously, to talk to him about it.
Okay, it's kind of hard to hear, but it's there. When you switch to the 12, you add in a little bit more of the basses and it rolls off a little bit more smoothly than when you have the 48 here. So yeah, by doing this, do you see these out here, right?
But what I love about this show and what Eric talks about,
all the stuff down here is being cut out. It's not being listened to. So if we turn off the high pass filter, I'll toggle the high pass filter on and off so you can see the difference.
It's not just about finances. It's not just about making a whole lot of money. He goes from a position where he was making a whole bucket load of money driving his BMWs, but he was also BMWs. Did you hear that? BMWs. But he was making
So something that's kind of interesting about this is Michael's voice is very deep. And when you cut out a lot of the deep from it by doing this, you can argue that it kind of sounds a little bit more unnatural or a little bit worse. So for this one, you might want to go with a 6 instead of a 12, or you might want to lower this frequency instead of it being at like 130 or higher. You might want to lower it a little bit more because the deepness of his voice is a lot of the richness in his voice, and we kind of want to keep some of that, but we do want to get rid of a lot of it as well, because a lot of it is reverb and echo in the room or other non-natural sounds that we can clean up by including this high pass filter on.
Over 80 pounds overweight, but he went from there to then exploding into this.
So as you can see, we have the curve on this one, the high pass filter on the lows, and we also have a low pass filter on the highs. So it's taking out a lot of the very, very high sounds too. And just like we did with the very first one, when we created the high pass filter, what I did was I created another high pass filter, but this time I brought it all the way up. So it only includes the super, super high end frequencies. And what we're trying to do is we're also, again, trying to find the frequencies which are inaudible. Or we can hear them, but we can't understand the words that are being said. So let's go hunt for those. Yeah, so as you can see, around 8,000 and a half to 9,000 is where we stop being able to really hear the vocal. And we just hear like this weird staticky noise. So we want to cut that out. So we turn off because I was just using these right here, right, to help us find the frequency. It was at 9,000, okay? So now that I found the frequency I want to cut out, I come in here and I find about where I want to cut it out, right? So
I'm excited to share with you what that is and how that's completely transforming the short-term rental space. But not only that, we talk about mindfulness and a little bit of his other journeys. So let's jump into our interview with.
See, I'm adjusting this low pass filter, and it's taking out all of the sounds that are higher than it. So I would take it over to around 9,000 right here. You want to be a little bit generous with these, right? So even though when we were just listening to the vocal, it was around 8,500, we couldn't understand. Just give it a little bit of extra. So like 8.8, whatever. Just give it a little extra, and then give it a nice smooth roll off like this, a 12 dB per octave roll off. So it sounds a little bit more natural. And we want to just include a little bit more, be generous. Whereas when we're creating the first filter, we have it at 24, or we can even use a 48 here to really help us lock in exactly which frequencies can we not understand the words being said anymore. Cool, so that's the parametric EQ. I know it's a lot of words I just said. I know it seems really complicated, but after you do it once or twice, this will take you 2 minutes to set up. It's very simple, very easy. It's all you're doing is finding the frequency at which you can't understand the words anymore and then putting it in here, right? Super simple. The other parts that I'm doing in here are these. Do you see this 3 and 4 right here, that there's small little dips? What I've done is you have to select width. Okay, there's a constant Q in width. Select width here. And then you take one of these, 1, 2, 3, or 4. I just took 3 and 4 for some reason. And I bring it all the way up like this, like really high up. Do you see? So this sound is peaking right here. It's super, super loud. Not peaking, but I just brought it up super high. And then I listen and I make it really narrow. So you control the width here. You want it to be super narrow like this. Maybe even narrower like that. There we go. And then we raise the dBs here. We make it really loud, like up here. And then we scroll across like this. And what we're looking for is we're trying to find frequencies that sound super, super bad. Maybe it's really whistly, really nasally, really raspy, really like anything that sounds terrible. And I only found like, you'll be surprised when you boost the sound like this really high, almost every frequency sounds terrible. Because that's not how the human voice is meant to be heard. The human voice is meant to be heard using a lot of frequencies. So when you boost one like this super loud, it will always sound kind of bad. But what you want to do is you want to find the instances that sound insanely bad. You want to find the instances that sound really, really, really bad. So let's find it.
Eric Mueller. I'm saying that right, my bad.
Hold on, yeah, start over.
And welcome to High Level Living with Michael Porsche. This is the show where we talk to all individuals in different industries, different spaces who are in different levels and capacities, but they are high level. That means not just financially, but physically, relationally, and spiritually. So on this show today, oh man, this one's a pretty legit one. I love this guy. This guy's name's Eric Mueller. He is a powerhouse in the short-term rental space, which is near and dear to my heart.
So did you hear this like whistly sound in the back? Yeah, I want to take that out. So I found it here, and I'm just going to lower this to like around 5 dB. So it just cuts out that little sound there. And that's what I did with the 4 here. So this is what the sound frequency I was taking out.
Because it's where I'm at. He's based out of San Diego. My goal is actually to enter in his mastermind. That's a area where I actually want to be in.
So do you hear that whistly frequency? I'm just taking that whistly frequency out by lowering around 5 dB, and it'll cut it out. It'll help clean up the vocal a little bit. So that's what those two are in the middle are doing. Pretty easy to do. Yeah, next I'm on to the next plugin, and I promise this isn't going to be too long. The next plugins are pretty simple and easy to understand. So this is the de-reverb plugin. You go to the little caret to add a plugin. It's probably going to be a noise reduction. Yeah, noise reduction de-reverb. Because in Michael's room, you can hear some reverb in the vocal. So we're just trying to take a little bit of that away. But the problem with de-reverb plugins, especially in something like Audition, is they're not really the best plugin. When you use them very powerfully, meaning like you try to use them very to do a lot of work, they'll end up distorting the vocal and making it sound really artificial and really bad. So here, let's turn it on, and this is it. So I have the amount at like 32%. You should listen for yourself, but have it on the lower end. Don't have it at 100. Maybe around here might be good, but anything low is pretty good. And then what we want to do is we want to focus the lower and higher frequencies, right? So this is focus all frequencies, focus lower and higher, because the vocals are going to be the mid frequencies. So we want to preserve the mid frequencies and then mess with the lows and the highs, which are not really where the vocal range is going to be. So we can click play.
Get in his mastermind and do some serious damage with it, because he helps people scale from where I'm at, say at 12, 20 to 100 plus. So that's where I'm looking to build our systems, our team, which I was.
So did you hear that when I turned it all the way up? The vocal sounded really thin. It sounded really nasally. It took out a lot of the bass, and it took out a lot of just the natural sound of the vocal by turning it up too high. So definitely put on the de-reverb, but keep it low. The next is also a very important one. It's called the de-esser. What it does is it tries to remove sibilants, meaning the S sounds, the S and C sounds in language, because when you listen to language, the S sounds can be very sharp, and it hurts our ears to listen to them being very loud. So what we want to do is we want to lower that. You do this by clicking this output sibilants only. So that way you can just hear what you're filtering. So let's do that. So do you see that when we make the window wider, we can hear more stuff. And when we make it smaller, we hear less things. What we want to do is we want to just be able to hear any S sounds, right? So we don't want to hear any other parts of the word besides the S. And once we find that frequency, then we know we found what we're looking for, and we're done. That's all we want to do. We just want to find where this is and then uncheck this. So now we're listening.
He was over 80 pounds overweight, but he went.
And we're good. And then this shows us the dBs at what part's coming in. Sorry about that. So we want to make sure the threshold is low enough that it actually takes out the sibilants. So it seems like around
from there
here,
to then exploding.
So it looks like around 80, 70 or so is where sibilance is coming in. So we want it to be around 60, I guess, would be good. Maybe 70. So anything that goes above this threshold, that's sibilance, meaning like the S sounds that we don't like, will be lowered.
Into a decision was, hey, I don't want to live where I want to live. I don't want to make this kind of money and not be able to have my health. I want to be surrounded by people who are killing it in all aspects of life, not just financially.
So you can actually see the gain reduction here. So it's lowering those frequencies, those sounds that have the S's in them. So that's why we want to keep this window narrow and make sure that we're only targeting the S sounds and we're not targeting other sounds. We want to make sure we're only lowering the S's and nothing more. And that's why we also want to keep this threshold somewhat high, right? If we are listening to the frequency and the vocals are constantly going up to -20, well, we want our threshold to be maybe -30 or something like that. But because here the threshold's only, the vocals are only coming up to like -60 or something, we have our threshold at -70. That way, because everything that goes above the threshold is what's going to be targeted, right? So if it's only going up to -100 and we have our threshold at -70, nothing's ever going to be reduced. It's only whatever goes above this threshold is what's reduced. Cool. So that's the de-esser. Vocal enhancer. De-esser is probably found under noise reduction as well. Noise reduction. No, it's under time. No, where is it? Under filter and EQ. No, delay, compression. Yeah, it's amplitude and compression is where you'll find the de-esser. Vocal enhancer, you find this under special, I think. Yeah, special vocal enhancer. This one's super easy. I just selected the low tones and then it's done. That's it. That's all you have to do. Done. You can listen to it. I'm not sure if I really love this one or not because it's such a simple plugin and you can't really change how strong it's coming through. So put it on and listen. If you think it sounds good, keep it. If you don't like it, take it off. And yeah, so notice the order in these, right? So these first three things, the parametric EQ, the de-reverber, and then the de-esser, are all first before the vocal enhancer because we're trying to remove a lot of the sounds we don't want. And now what we're trying to do is we're trying to boost the sounds that we have left because all that we should have left are sounds that we like. These are all the frequencies and sounds that we want to keep, and now we start to make them sound better. So we bring in the vocal enhancer. Cool. Speech volume leveler. This is a special type of compressor that seems specifically made for speech. It's under amplitude and compression. Speech leveler. Click it. So the trick with compressors is you want to use multiple compressors and have them doing less work each. It makes it sound more natural and it makes it sound better. So here, what I did was I targeted the low volume because it might come in sounding really loud once you put this on. So you just lower the target volume level. And then the leveling amount, instead of it being at 100%, I put it at 50. Dynamic range, you still want a good dynamic range in here. So it's like this. That's all you have to do for this one. Listen, use your ears. That's the most important thing in audio editing. If it doesn't sound like it's doing enough, bring it up. If it sounds like it's doing too much, bring it down. This is just making the volume of all the words equal. So if he's talking really loudly and then he's talking kind of quietly, it brings those and kind of mellows them out. So the loud stuff doesn't sound so loud and the quiet stuff sounds louder. So right after that, I just put a multi-band compressor on. Again, that's under amplitude and compression, and then multi-band compressor. And the multi-band compressor, let's open this guy. Okay, Audition, let's open this guy. Cool. Presets, I went to something like vocals, probably. Raise vocals. And then in raise vocals, I turned it down. So how you make a compressor less powerful is you mess with the ratio, you mess with the gain, you mess with the threshold. And yeah, the lower the threshold, the more powerful the compressor is going to be. The higher the threshold, the less powerful it's going to be. The higher the ratio, the more powerful the compressor is going to be. The lower the ratio, the less powerful. So when we first put it on, let's see, raise vocals. Yeah, the ratio is at a 4. That's really high. Let's put it to 2. And because notice this is for vocals, right? The middle ones were much higher. The middle ones were the 4s, and the lows and the highs for these. The blue and the purple, the blue is the lows, the purple is the highs. They're at 1s. The ratio are at 1s because vocals are in the mid, and that's what the compressor was doing when we put raised vocals on. It was helping the mids. So because we want them to be less powerful, we'll raise the threshold a little bit. We do want to boost the highs a tiny bit and the lows a tiny bit. So we'll bring the threshold on these down a decent bit. Not as far as the middle, but a little bit, you know. Ratio of one of those is good. So the attack for this is very sharp. I don't know why. Oh, the gain is also kind of high. So we can bring this down to like a 3. You want a 2 or a 3 for the gain for these. And then I guess for the outside ones, we can pick a 1 for them. Cool. So the attack is really fast. I would probably put these at a 25 and a 15. It sounds a little unnatural when you have them so sharp. And then we also want our releases to be a little bit faster too. It sounds a little ridiculous with such a such a long release. Cool, and something like that. So this is just a compressor, another compressor to put on there. The last plugin I have here is a chorus flanger. Chorus flanger might not be necessary. It's under modulation, chorus flanger. You could probably just go with the chorus as well, because that's all I'm using it for, is the chorus. And I clicked in here, I went to thicken vocal, vocal thickening, and then I took the intensity and brought it down to like 2% or 1%. This is just to thicken up the vocals a little bit, but you really don't want to go too heavy with this one. It's very powerful. Here, I can show you. You could always test this for yourself. Actually, that's what you should do, is for all these plugins, put it on and then like slide the sliders to like opposite ends to see what they do. That way you know what you're looking for and what you can achieve. So here.
And welcome to High Level Living with Michael Porsche. This is the show where we talk to all individuals in different industries, different spaces who are in different levels and capacities, but they are high level. That means not just financially, but physically, relationally, and spiritually. So on this show today, oh man, this one's a pretty legit one. I love this guy. This guy's name's Eric Moeller.
So also you want to toggle them on and off. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing with your plugin is making it better, not worse. It's very important. You always want to toggle them on and off to make sure you're making something better. And when I toggle this one on and off, to me, it sounds a little bit warmer. It sounds a little bit fuller with it on. So I want to keep it on. And I've already listened to this a lot, and I've already like dialed all these plugins in. So I'm pretty happy with how it sounds now. And now I can toggle the whole thing on and off, right?
Michael Porsche. This is the show where we talk to all individuals in different industries, different spaces who are in different levels and capacities, but they are high level. That means not just financially, but physically, relationally, and spiritually. So on this show today, oh man, this one's a pretty legit one. I love this guy. This guy's name's Eric Moeller. He is a powerhouse in the short-term rental space, which is near and dear to my heart because it's where I'm at. He's based out of San Diego. My goal is actually to enter in his mastermind. That's a area where I actually want to be in, is to get in his mastermind and do some serious damage with it because
So as I'm listening to this, it sounds a little bit, and I toggle between the on and off. It was coming across as a little bit too edited, a little bit too robotic sounding or synthetic sounding. So I'm just lowering the saturation knob because I know what's going to cause those sounds. It's going to be something like a compressor, a flanger, chorus, and then saturation. So I lower the flanger, chorus, I lower the saturation knob, and now I'm going to go into this multi-band compressor and probably try to reduce this one as well. So we're going to bring the threshold up for these. Cool. Now I'm going to listen again.
High level. That means not just financially, but physically, relationally, and spiritually. So on this show today, oh man, this one's a pretty legit one. I love this guy. This guy's name's Eric Moeller. He is a powerhouse in the short-term rental space, which is near and dear to my heart because it's where I'm at. He's based out of San Diego. I'm going to lower this now a little bit. So the unedited version of his vocals is actually pretty good. So we don't have to do strong effects on this. We want it to be light. We certainly want it to be light. So I'm going to lower this low shelf like this, make it a little bit like that. Cool. De-esser, maybe his de-esser is a little bit too powerful as well. So we're going to raise the dBs on this here. Goal is actually to enter in his mastermind. That's a area where I actually want to be in, is to get in his mastermind and do some serious damage with it because he helps people scale from where I'm at, say at 12, 20 to 100 plus. So that's where I'm looking to build our systems, our team, which I was really excited, obviously, to talk to him about it. But what I love about this show and what Eric talks about is it's not just about finances. It's not just about making a whole lot of money. He goes from a position where he was making a whole bucket load of money driving his BMWs, but he was also BMWs. Did you hear that? BMWs.
Yeah, so I think one of my problems with it currently is the vocal enhancer plugin. I'm not really enjoying that one, so I turned it off. It sounds kind of like an auto-tuney plugin to me, for singing or something like that. So I'm gonna turn that off. And now I'm pretty happy with this. So I click apply to apply all the sounds. It applies the effects. And ta-da, we're done. Congrats. You have just edited your the podcast to be a little bit. See, look how much more even it is, right? So here, let's Control Z this. So look at this. Really loud up here, really quiet in here. It goes loud to quiet to loud to quiet to loud to quiet, right? And when we apply it, but yeah, after you apply the stuff with like a compressor and a volume leveler, it'll be more flat, and that's what we want. We don't want it to be too flat though. We do want, like, in mid-sentence and stuff like that, we want stuff that he emphasizes to have the emphasis on it, right? Like sometimes he'll get really excited and we want that excitement to come through. And sometimes when you're just telling a joke, right, the punchline, or like you're supposed to speak a little quiet and set up the joke, and then bang, you hit him with the punchline, right? So you want that to come through. You don't want to compress it too much. You just want a little bit. A little bit is more important in vocal editing than too much. So that's that. Feel free to tell me or ask me any questions, or let me know what you're thinking at all. I'll happily respond or answer and tell you what's up. All right. There it is. Enjoy.